Hello, I'm Warren Tingen, founder and creative director of Tingen Creative. We're talking today with Jacob Tingen, my brother, about his law firm Rebrand and kind of what the process was and what it looked like for him and how it impacted his business.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, so my name is Jacob Tingen, and I've been practicing law now for about 10 years. I graduated from law school and started my own practice. And I have relied on my graphic design brother's amazingness a couple of times, but this is the first time where I've approached him and said, hey, I want to make something new and lasting. I've gotten to a point with my law firm and with my partners that I wanted something special and more than just a logo, but an actual brand design, just because we've developed a reputation over the years. And it's been really neat to see this project come together. I have enjoyed seeing what's happening. And it's also really cool because we had the unique opportunity at the same time that Warren was doing the rebrand to also have our new office space kind of match those colors and match those design elements. So for the first time ever, and it feels amazing to have a physical space that matches my digital space. It's really cool.
It looks amazing too, and I've really enjoyed the evolution of watching it develop in the duration that we did the rebrand itself with the visuals and such. So
if you need some B-roll later, we'll try to take some of the office.
I was thinking that we would take some B-roll or I would shoot some with the phone or whatever.
Something.
But just something to have so we could show, logos and other things. I mean, obviously we're getting the background color here, which is one of the main colors that we decided upon, which was very, very cool.
Yeah, no, we had a good, slate color. So the colors ended up being kind of a slate, an amber, and blue. And the slate is more of kind of a blue-gray.
Right.
It's a really good, strong color.
Right.
And, maybe I'll go grab that stool or something to show off here in the video. I don't know.
What stool?
Well, I mean, so we've got a lot of natural wood.
Amber.
Yeah, that's that amber tone.
Bringing in those natural colors. Yeah. So, no, I think your interior designer did a fantastic job with the color selections and matching and mirroring what we created for the brand visuals, which you're now reflecting on your own website. So I think that did a fantastic job. And I'm looking forward to seeing how it enhances the image of your law firm, honestly.
Me too. One of the things that I like about the design and the color choices is I didn't want to go with this kind of mahogany style, just old school, inaccessible, maybe even a little stuffy feel that some law firms have. And I wanted something accessible. And so when we had people come in the office for the first time, the general remarks are, wow, it's so bright. It's so happy. I'm not used to that in a law office. It's cheerful. It's colorful. And so I like that we've got some of these serious kind of slate tones, these gray tones, kind of ground our professionalism. But also we've got color, which really for a law firm is unusual. I had never really thought about that before.
Well, yeah, you're totally right. And that's one of the thoughts that as we went through the process is breaking away from that typical law firm feel and how that's going to impact you. And I'm glad to hear you've already getting feedback of so happy and welcoming. And I recently posted about, welcoming spaces. They make people more relaxed. They reduce the stress. And so having an environment where you can serve your clientele, where they already feel relaxed, they're coming to you with a problem that's, heightened their stress already. Let's make an environment that's stress reducing rather than stress inducing.
Yeah, I think that. So the response has been overwhelming in that regard in terms of, wow, it really is just kind of happier, more lively. The other thing that clients have said about the design and space is they're excited about it. They think it looks fresh. They think it looks new. They like the direction the firm is headed. So it's just kind of been good all around. I have enjoyed playing with the colors physically, and now with this new opportunity to kind of start putting those colors on the website. So we're in the middle of our web redesign and kind of updating pages. We have a lot of content already, and so it hasn't been just a one fell swoop redesign. We were able to update our colors site-wide And now we're updating design elements on specific pages. And the blog should happen soon, and the different pages should happen shortly after that.
And that's fair. A rebranding process is a time sensitive thing. You don't do it just all at once. And that's one of the things that you want to make sure as you rebrand something is that you take the time to develop it fully, to really infuse it into your culture, as well as the visual aspect. The visual aspect is important, but it's not the only aspect of a rebrand. So what prompted you to decide to rebrand right now with your law firm?
So we had a number of interesting events in the history of my firm. So to back up a bit, and I think I hinted at this, but I graduated law school, started my own practice right out of law school, which was a little crazy. And we've had some
work out.
Yeah, it's been cool. So we've had some partners come and go, and as the firm has evolved and as my vision for the business has evolved, it was time to level up. And so when people generally approach a law firm, what they normally get is independent lawyers kind of working together, and everybody has their own style. And what I decided is I didn't want to have people come and get a different experience depending on which lawyer they're seeing. So I wanted to change it from the traditional law firm where, okay, it's essentially, it's really interesting how a lot of law firms operate, especially small law firms. It's like they're a group of freelancers that share staff. And I decided I don't want that. I wanted to have a company where people can come and buy the product of legal services, and they get the same delivery every time at a quality level that I can set and control a little better. And that doesn't mean that the individual attorneys don't have freedom to operate in the way that they want to, because they absolutely do.
Right.
But we have leveled up as a firm because we have written processes for specific things. We have written steps that attorneys take, that staff take. So we've standardized our office processes. It has led to us billing more, performing better work faster, tracking those metrics. And so I wanted the brand to reflect this new attitude of these internal processes, this new vision that I had and that we've worked on together as a firm, which is superior client experiences. And that's really what I want to target. Is I just want people to come here and say, oh, you know what? I had such a good time at Tingen Law. Right. It was amazing. I came in, the colors alone told me I was in the right place. It was so happy. And then everybody else was happy. It was calm. Not a very common thing for a law office, because without written processes, a lot of offices are just kind of scattershot.
Chaotic, huh?
Yeah. And so there have just been a lot of positive synergies. And so to have the brand colors and the clean logo and the clean elements come together in this way communicates, okay, I'm not just getting whatever. My friend told me this firm was great, and I'm going to have a great time too.
Excellent.
Yeah.
What appealed most to working with Tingen Creative in this rebrand process? What aspect appealed most to you?
So, one, you're my brother.
That's helpful. Yeah, there's full disclosure.
We
brothers,
shouldn't hide
siblings.
that. Yeah. So Warren here is 10 years older than I am, but so
doesn't mean a lot these days.
There's a bit of an age gap. No, but it's been really cool working with you on this project, because one of the other things is we do have a history. We have that opportunity to communicate, but also you created value in ways that I did not expect, which were cool. You went out on your own and the question is what was it like working with you, right?
Right.
Yeah. So you went out on your own and you did market research for me that I didn't ask you to do, that I didn't expect to be part of my design package. But as you discussed it with me, I realized this was super relevant for you to know.
Right.
And that prompted these brand conversations that opened up topics for us to discuss that really refined the correct vision. Right. And so right now I'm talking, superior client experiences. When we started, I didn't have that. I hadn't hit that nail on the head yet.
Right. We hadn't really focused on that completely yet.
And so those brand conversations and that research that you did, and you operated not just as a designer, but as a consultant, and it helped me land in the right spot. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. And that's what we try to do as brand strategists and brand designers, is create that focus and help people understand where they need to go and hit that nail on the head, find that point, and make that strong. So branding isn't just those visuals, but helping develop, more than just the look and feel, but the overall experience that they're going to enjoy at a thing. And you talk about doing that research, and I found it very entertaining to look at all other law firms. And for the most part, law firms, they have the sans serif font, they have that mahogany feel that you mentioned earlier, and that kind of rich, prestige kind of thing. And I don't think we've moved away from the prestige. We've just made it more inviting, more
accessible.
More accessible, yeah. More accessible. So how do you see, excuse me.
Well, actually, can I jump in here with a question for you?
Throw in
so
there.
I want you to tell me, earlier you said this phrase, which I thought was good, and I was hoping to sneak a couple of nuggets of advice from you.
Okay, let's hear it.
You were talking about the brand redesign process. It just rolled off your tongue, and I was like, okay, tell me more about what the brand redesign process or the brand rollout process should look like.
Well, with a brand redesign, it's like you said, it isn't just about the visuals. It's more about that experience. And so if you want to understand the experience, you have to really research competitors, your clients, who you're going to be looking into, who you really want to target. So in order to do that, you had a vision already of what you wanted to do and the clients that you wanted. You're looking at immigration, you're looking at business law. So okay, how do we fashion those things into this experience, this brand experience, rather than just the visual experience too? And you developed a lot of processes. You have this kind of, and part of the logo, we talked about the hive kind of thing with
right.
the bee and this hive, this working together for a singular goal. And that's the experience you want to provide to your clients, is that together we're going to solve this problem, and it's not going to be different. It's going to be structured. It's going to be created. And that's the kind of process that we want to do in a rebrand or a brand of any kind. Is you want to look at those competitors, really define who they are, kind of look at your own strengths, your own weaknesses, and then develop off of those, and then focus on that target audience. And if you have the opportunity, make sure that you're asking the questions. How does this impact you? What can we improve? What do you like about this practice? What do you not like? And by asking those questions, and people think of research or data, it's this high thing where millions of surveys and then compile. You really only need to start asking questions of the people that you're already engaged with to kind of understand where they're at and understand that audience. So part of that process is understanding that, and that before we even put pencil to paper to kind of create visuals, we want to understand who that audience is and then develop off of that. So after that, we just look at based on the client's needs and what you want, especially with this, law firm, you were like, we want to be more inviting. So that's where we leaned into those brighter, more welcoming colors and other things. But that was after the process of researching competitors and clients. What do you think about those?
No, I like it. I mean, and you mentioned the research aspect. So we looked at multiple firms together. Mm-hmm. We looked at multiple color palettes,
right?
Which took a while to nail down specifically kind of what I was envisioning. And we almost went with a kind of a green and brown white palette, which was another different direction for law firms. So a lot of law firms do use a base color palette with blue, right?
Right.
And so ultimately I did choose to go with that blue. But it is distinctive enough that I think it separates us from the market of other lawyers who use these colors. Well, so I still felt good and kind of unique.
Yeah, that was the interesting thing in doing the research for the competitors.
Tell about this.
We found, I made a grid of the colors and the fonts and those kind of things, those visual aspects. And then we found one law firm that was hot pink, which was very interesting. And they're definitely stepping into their more feminine brand, and they were focused on women. And so,
that was their niche.
That typically brings in, that color typically brings in women. I mean, I'm not wearing my pink shirt. I love pink. But
yeah, that's right. You were going to wear pink for this.
Yeah, I forgot it. I thought I had it in the bag, but I only had a blue shirt and my cranberry shirt. But as we looked at law firms, they were by far blue, black, gold. Those were kind of the top colors for law firms, and the mahogany as well. But in developing these more welcoming, warm colors and more inviting, it speaks to kind of the business that you're in. One, primarily immigration, where we want immigration to be welcoming. We want immigration to be inclusive and things of that nature. But if you're, distancing yourself with those darker colors, it can be hard. So you want to have some warm elements.
So that's something. So we recently moved into this space, and I think it's neat that you mentioned that. Like, people fleeing for their lives. We do a lot of humanitarian kind of immigration, asylum work, that kind of stuff. And so when people flee for their lives, they don't care if you're sitting at a mahogany desk, right? They don't care how dark the wood is in your office. They're looking to help themselves, save their lives and that kind of thing. So when at our last office space, it was kind of imposing. When you came in, it had these dark kind of Corinthian style columns as you came into a gold leaf color elevator door, or maybe it was brass or bronze, but you get the idea. It just kind of reeked of, okay, we're the big lawyer types. And for a lot of our clientele, they're Hispanic, come from Central America, who are fleeing a lot of violence right now, gang violence and other things. And so these people, they're already respectful to lawyers. We don't need to impress them.
There's a general a general cultural bend toward authority. So
So a lot of our Hispanic clientele, like, they call me doctor, doctor, licenciado, right?
Licenciado, very nice.
So they don't even, and it's funny because in Spanish, you know how it is, right? So like certain titles can almost become your name. And so
that's fair.
I think most clients don't even know I'm Jacob Tingen. I'm just abogado, right? And so it's been nice to kind of have this brighter space. And I think it does put people more at ease when they come in, and they're less worried about, can I afford this? And obviously part of our rebrand was taking a hard look at our prices and increasing those and kind of thinking about how we bill and stuff. But I do think that the general vibe is a little more calm here in the new space too. And I like that. I like that for the clients.
Yeah. And I like what you said about the pricing strategies too. That's definitely part of, managing your brand. You've got to know where you sit in that market and where you can fit in that market segment. So, we looked at those clients and found where they sit. And then, as you're branching into new types of business, you talk about business and IP law, where that sits as well as in your pricing strategy and what you're looking for as far as growth. So with those thoughts in mind, how do you see your rebrand helping you grow in the next 2 to 3 years?
So that's a good question. That's a great question. So for me, I love the logo. I freaking love that logo. I really
we'll
like
splash the logo.
The hexagon with the T. We should show you. It's really great.
I definitely want to talk about the symbolism that we inspired with that.
Here in a minute. I don't know. There's the logo, right? We'll
splash it up there. We'll put it up on the screen.
No, but I love the logo, and I'm thinking forward. So I've recently gotten into a little bit more business planning. So that was part of the brand adjustment, partners coming and going, and me saying, okay, people come and go, but I'm staying.
Right.
I need to have a long-term plan for this.
Right.
And so I'm looking out that we leased this space for 8 years, but I want this to be my brand for more than 8 years. And I think it was you who told me, if when you get tired with your logo, that's not necessarily the time to change it because you see it every day. Your clients have only seen it once. The logo we have, I feel, is a very relevant logo. I feel that we did good work. You did good work.
Thanks.
We put time and thought into the symbolism, and they are things that apply to my law firm's trajectory and strategy. probably for more than 3 years.
Oh, for sure.
And when I had an interior designer come in and pick colors that match that digital space, I was like, we're keeping this forever, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Is I'm like, we're going to use this brand, but in terms of how it's helping, like with our immigration clientele, our humanitarian immigration clientele, it's more accessible. I think that that's true too, as well, of the business and IP clientele. Maybe they might be a little more used to the mahogany style formal law firms, right. But in particular, when it comes to IP clientele, they tend to be a little more tech savvy. Business clientele, especially today, they're forward thinking. And so I think most of our clients, or all of our clients, really appreciate moving past this kind of imposing, oh, I'm a lawyer, look at my diploma on the wall.
Right.
Especially in the tech sector, people don't care if you have a college degree. They just care if you can do the work.
Right.
And while that still matters, I mean, degrees matter and education matters, formal education matters. I'm a lawyer. Of course, I believe that. But for me, the takeaway is when a client, I've never had a client ask me which law school I graduated from. I've never had a client ask me what my GPA was. I've never had a client ask me what score I got on the bar exam, which they don't even tell you because they don't want lawyers advertising that kind of thing. But these questions never come up. And so what that tells me is clients don't care. What the questions they do ask is, have you done this before? Can you get it done? What's your experience? What do you think? What are my chances? They don't care about some of these things that lawyers have for years cared about.
Right.
And so by focusing on the client instead of focusing on our own prestige, we have this brand that's really more accessible to clients. So I see it helping us over the next 2 or 3 years, helping us bring in some of those clients who are attracted to this style.
Yeah. Excellent. So how is your law practice differentiate itself from other law practice beyond just the visual brand acuity?
So I think it goes back to what I was saying earlier, where we, especially over the last year or so, where we've kind of retooled things.
Right.
And it's not a disparate group of freelancing attorneys. We're a team now. You know, we have trainings with all the attorneys and we hear the same messages. We discuss the same messages about sales, about procedure, and procedure matters. We recently hired a new attorney and brought him in, Travis. He's been excellent. And one of the things that he said when he got here, he kind of knocked on my door when we were talking. He goes, it's really quiet here. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, the processes, because all of that was new to him. So we have a training website. So I've been using this studio to create videos for the training website. It's been fantastic. And we'll go over those on like a weekly training session. And then when somebody new is hired, it's all like, okay, now go watch all the videos before you do anything so that you already know what our procedures are. And so he was fascinated when he was learning all of our procedures. And then he comes to me, he's like, yeah, it's really quiet. Like everybody knows what to do. There's not an emergency.
Fantastic.
There's not an emergency culture, right? And so those are the benefits to the other things we've done beyond the brand. Like, and what's cool is I can point to the brand and I can point to the vision and say, all of this is to create a superior client experience. It gives us some cohesiveness that we lacked before. And so, yeah, no, I mean, it's fantastic. It's phenomenal to have things coming together and have people come in and be like, wow, it is different to work here. And I have the sneaky suspicion that our clients, we've already heard this from some of our, it is different to come here and receive services here as well.
Right.
That's the message we're hearing loud and clear because we do things consistently. It's great.
Well, and that's a big part of having an overall brand strategy for your brand is that culture internally and externally. So making sure that the process is good both for your employees as well as your clients. And I think having come in here today, this is my first time in the space. Everybody seems, and like you said, it's a very quiet environment. Yeah. But and those quiet environments allow you to sit and think and consider and be a little more creative than a chaotic environment where you're talking about being in emergency mode at all times when you're like constantly looking for that next thing where you've got to fix this. That just really ramps down the creativity and brings up the stress, makes the environment a lot less wholesome in my opinion.
We had a staff member that we hired, And she's like, one day we had a fire, which is becoming more and more rare for us, because that's my whole thing. Is like, I don't want fires. But she goes, oh, at my last firm, I was always putting out fires. I'm like, well, that's terrible. I never want you to have a fire here, because we're going to be ready. We're going to do things far enough in advance. We never have a fire. And she's like, oh, okay. And we took care of it. We, fires pop up. Sometimes they're just unavoidable things. But fires, like immediate court deadlines that were unexpected or different, that's generally how law firms operate. And so I've loved streamlining things so that we don't have any fires. And that's been phenomenal.
Well, say that phrase again. What is it?
Superior client experiences.
Okay. So superior client experiences begins on the back end. And to have a superior client experience, you have to have a superior employee experience too. So
that's true.
So like you're saying with the fires, you're trying to ramp those down, create less stress, and allow them to find those solutions without your immediate hand and involvement.
Right. And then, you've told me this other thing before, which I really like, and I'd never really applied it to what we've done here. But you said less stress leads to more creativity. Is that what you said?
Right.
So I hadn't considered that before. So for me, I have always been, before this recent kind of remodel and rebrand, I was a very hands-off manager, and definitely too hands-off, right? Because I didn't want to nitpick or micromanage.
Right.
And I just expected, okay, I've hired a smart person, you go do it, right? Like, leave me alone, go do your job, right? But the reality is, the more constraints that I give people, the more rules and procedures, the better they are at their jobs, the better they are at giving me what I want. And then, like you said, they get better at creative problem solving. So one of the things we've done, and I talked to this other guy whose job has been like continuous improvement in the business environment. Right. He has a psychology degree and an engineering degree and has worked for like the military and consulting. It's really interesting. But one of the things that I've noticed, he pointed me towards the Toyota production system, which is just
Lean Sigma. Yeah.
We're not gonna keep going down different rabbit holes. I promise. I'm getting to my point of my tangent. But so basically, what he was saying was, people like having a certain set of rules and procedures within which to work, and then once that happens, once you create a culture of procedures, then you can teach your employees to help you make the procedures.
Right.
And you don't have. So when I started, I had to make all of them on my own, and it's hard. It was a big, huge effort. Fair. But now that I've got people who recognize the value of them, sometimes something new will come up, and I'll be like, "What do you think?" And then I'm all like, "Bring me the procedure like this afternoon, okay? Like you write it up and bring it back," and they do, and they're good. And they're better than I would have thought of. Well, it's really great.
Like you said, creativity with the constraints, and that's one of my favorite definitions about creativity, is creating unique solutions within the boundaries that you've been given. Having those limitations allows you to, fit within that area, but there should be some leeway where you have room to imagine something unique within that. Let me take these 3 building blocks and let me rearrange them in a different way that hasn't been considered yet. And so they are able to come up with those procedures that within this whole brand and the whole strategy that you've created around your business, they can say, okay, well, this is a goalpost here and this is a goalpost here. How can I fit that in the field? Because the field can be pretty wide inside of a brand, and you don't have to be, it must be X, but it just needs to fit within this range. So I think you look at other really big brands, Coca-Cola or others, and you can see how they've evolved over time, but they still have that same kind of message throughout the years, and that same kind of notoriety, and they're always going to be. Coke definitely is probably the number one world brand on the globe.
In drinks. Well, as brands go.
Yeah. And
Coke, maybe McDonald's, maybe a few others.
Yeah.
Globally known.
Probably a very few. Nike, Coke, I imagine, are some of those big ones. But yeah, having that brand philosophy and having those constraints, I think, really helps you build lets people go, okay, well, I know where I can fit in this, and let me be creative here.
I think that's what you've helped me get to with my brand, is that I feel like I have something that could persist beyond, like maybe there will be tweaks here and there, but the same general vibe, that's what a brand is. The same general style and sense will persist.
Right.
So that's what we're working on now.
Well, and I mean, any brand that is so stodgy that they only focus on one thing, and this is what we're going to be for years and years and years, is going to be a brand that dies. And it's a brand that's going to.
It's got to evolve a little.
It has to evolve, and brands. I mean, and I use this term, brand steward or brand stewardship. You know, you've been given this brand. How am I going to, one, take care of it, and then one, allow it to evolve and allow it to grow? And so, you know, as you develop your business, it's going to grow with, you know, the visuals and your as you add employees or add locations or add whatever, the brand has to grow with it, and your brand mission, your brand vision has to also grow. So all of those elements, yes, those constraints, but it's just like raising a plant from a seed. We put it in a small thing, we put it in a little piece, and then we let it grow. Then we move it and transplant it to a larger pot. And so as your brand grows, you have to move it. It may keep some of those same looks and visuals. And we go back.
Roots are the same.
The roots are the same. And you look at the Coca-Cola logo over the time it's been around, it's been tweaked just a little bit, but it's still that same curly font, and it's always going to be that same welcoming, warm, cool, curvy font. So I don't see them ever moving from that. It's become so embedded in their personality.
You won't see Coca-Cola in blocky letters anytime soon.
No, I don't think they'll ever do that. But never say never.
Yeah, if they did, it'd be really brilliant. They'd have to pull off something really fancy, right?
Well, it's like with Coke. What was it? New Coke, where that just failed dismally, and they had to go back to the old recipe. It's like, no, people liked it this way. You can grow and tweak it. Coke. We can grow and tweak a little bit, but
that's funny.
So yeah. Well, let's talk some more about how it hasn't changed. Your new brand strategy has changed your internal culture, and then let's talk a little bit more about how it's changed your external culture as well. So go with the internal culture first. So how have your employees embraced the new brand strategy? Have they, number one, and is it something that they find utility in? You know, what are the things that they're seeing and that they're reporting back to you?
Well, let's talk about that. So internally, and I'll pick your mind a little bit on what you mean by externally, but I imagine you mean how the clients are taking it. But
right.
When it comes to our staff, what has been really great about the brand is people who have worked here have always liked working here. So one of the things that I'm proud of is that I believe that I make a good work environment. I think I'm a good boss. I could be wrong. Maybe you should interview the employees separately.
Maybe we should do that.
But I think that I have a way of managing attitudes and expectations, and I learned, you know, working at a small entrepreneur's office, that it really stinks when a promise isn't kept. And so I'm careful not to promise too much to my employees, and when I promise them something, it will happen. And so. And then there's also just a lot of weird personalities out there in the world of small business ownership, which is fine. I don't want to turn off any small business owners. Please give us a call and hire us. No, but I've had employees. I've had employees that have worked at other firms, and they get here and they're like, "It's different. It's better." That has become more pronounced as we've done the internal culture changes. So people have always said, "Oh, I really like working here." Now people are raving about, "Oh, I love the procedures. I love the processes." From the brand perspective, one of the cool things that the cohesive brand has done, and going into it in this mindful way, like instead of, "Oh, I just want a flourishy lawyer logo that looks fancy." No, I want a brand that I can use for the next 30 years. And approaching it from that perspective has given me something to talk about with the staff and with the attorneys and say, this is where we're headed. This is the vision. And it's been really great to have a design that matches that. So we talked about the dot on the T. So the T is in a hexagon and how it represents the individual and the firm, and we're pushing forward progress for that person. And like you mentioned, the structure of the hexagon, which is the strongest geometric shape. And that's kind of another thing that I wanted to build a strong foundation with procedures and processes and operate as a company, give that consistent experience. But one of the cool things about all of that and the color scheme too is when in the past when we'd hire somebody new, they'd just decorate their office, kind of do whatever. And as long as it was professional, I didn't mind or care at all. When we did the brand redesign, we moved into this office. We have the walls here. We have the amber colors and the slate colors and the blue colors. I'm all like, okay. And I held up like our old office stuff. I was like, see this black cup holder? Trash, right? This silver one, it can stick around, right? You know? And so that informed the choices that people can make. So I still let the employees make their own choices about how they decorate their offices. But that whole creativity loves constraints, or how's it go? Is that it?
Yeah, creativity loves constraints. I agree with that.
Creativity loves constraints. And so the employees have really liked the constraints. They know what parameters to operate in. And so of their own accord, we've got a better, more cohesive team culture because we're all on the same team. Everybody's all like, oh, I think that's cute. It looks good with the brand, or I like those colors. It matches with, you know. And so people, they kind of have fun matching the brand instead of doing their own thing, which is neat.
This is definitely something to consider. That's fantastic that they've internalized it so far that they're like, oh, how can I mirror it in my work environment within the space? That's fantastic.
Yeah. So when you communicate a vision and you have a cohesive brand and you communicate the brand and the vision to your employees, then they're like, oh, this is fun. This is cool. We've had employees that I had one that screen grabbed the logo from the internet somewhere, and I saw it on his screen on his laptop, and I was like, well, that's ugly. So then I went back, I took the logo that you'd done, I did some color things and made several screenshots, and not screenshots, but like screensavers or wallpapers or whatever. And then I shared it on the company Slack, and I'm like, hey guys, here, download these if you want to put something on your cell phone or your desktop. And then people did, like, they just like it. We make t-shirts too, and we give them away to clients. And once a week we wear t-shirts and jeans to work, whereas most of the time we're more buttoned up. And they like to wear the brand. They like to wear the brand, and they like to wear the brand colors.
That's fantastic. So you've talked to us a little bit about the internal culture. What about the external culture? How does your front office staff engage with your clients now that you've got this new brand, your new strategy, and your new procedures? How do they engage, and what's the communication back from your clients related to your new strategy?
Well, educate me a little more on how you would have expected that to occur, because I don't know if we've just naturally done it, or because as I think about it, it's not like, so with my employees, I sat down and I'm like, this is the brand, these are the brand colors. Obviously, I haven't done that with the clients, right?
Well, no, you wouldn't do that with the clients, but your front office staff is they're the vanguard to your clients. True. So, how has developing your whole process is, they're onboarding the clients, they're taking care of those calls, they're managing those things. How has this new strategy impacted their engagement with being the vanguard with your clients?
Okay. So I take this phrase, superior client experiences, as part of the brand. If that's what we're talking about, this is kind of where we landed, and this is some of the ways that things have developed. So superior client experiences, definitely part of what we do. And that guides the training. Fair. And that guides the sales process. It guides lead qualification. So with this in mind, superior client experiences, we looked at our then current intake processes. What did we do when a client came in? Who did we choose to consult? What did my reception staff do? Who did they let through? Who did they weed out? That kind of thing. Like you said, they're the vanguard, they're in the front row. I wanted the reception area in this physical space to be large enough to be comfortable, but also I wanted it to be a little imposing because I want to give the receptionist authority. Like, yeah. One thing we don't like is clients that treat lawyers good and treat staff bad. You do that, we will not work with you, right? Like that's
a good philosophy. I like that.
Well, yeah, that's one of the lead qualification things we give to the staff. We say, look, if they swear you out, we're done, right? If in that first phone call, they're going to get rude with you, just say, we don't think this is the right firm for you.
That's
fair. And so we just, that change alone has been excellent. And what's interesting is we have served maybe fewer clients. I mean, I can look at the stats. And so, fewer people are getting to the consult stage.
But the quality.
Yes, the quality is better. Bills are up. I mean, so there are changes like that. But then,
and your employee satisfaction is probably a lot higher too, because they're not getting sworn out right from the get go. They pick up the phone. Oh yeah, you're not right for us.
Right. I mean that's been helpful, and I've even had to let go of some clients. Like if we're in the middle of representing them and they just want to get an attitude with the staff, I'll give them a warning. I'll say, look, we don't tolerate it. This is strike one, but this isn't baseball. At strike two, you're done. Right. Like.
Right. Well, and it speaks to also, we've talked a lot about constraints and how that improves things. And you give a constraint to a client and you say, well, this is how we do business. And this is how we like to do business with clients who are respectful and amiable. And we're trying to do the best for you, do the best for us.
Right. And so when you talk about that external brand, it's this, we communicate to the client what we expect from them.
Right.
And like you mentioned, I think that's such a good phrase for the creativity loves constraints, right? In the past, we would, if we needed evidence from a client, we might say, okay, just bring this whenever you're ready and give us a call. And then 6 months would go by and some clients would just let their legal case kind of flounder. Now we're like, okay, this was a great appointment. We need this evidence from you. When can I see you? I'd like to schedule you in the next 2 weeks.
Right, having those.
And then if they miss that appointment, we're done. we move on.
Well, you have to. I mean, there are many clients that you've got to serve.
Right.
Their needs too. So if a client is engaged in their own personal welfare, I imagine that can be quite a struggle.
Right. So we've gotten a lot more strict with clients, but we communicate it up front in such a way that they get it. And then they're excited. So one of the other things that happens in a lot of law firms, and I don't know if this is law firms generally or just the local market or stories we've heard, but sometimes it's like the attorney is waiting for the money. Some attorneys will do payment plans, some attorneys won't, and legal bills can be expensive.
Fair.
We do payment plans so long as you have a card or your ACH transfer information on file. We're happy to do that for you. And give you that opportunity to pay over time. So a lot of lawyers will ask for a big lump sum, or a lot of lawyers will do a payment plan, but they won't do the work immediately. Because this goes to that superior client experience, and maybe some people might think I'm crazy.
No.
But I figure as long as we have their payment information, we're going to get the money, which proves true. I mean, we've done the analysis, we've looked at our payment history over time, and we have a pretty, above like 95% payment. So
that's fantastic.
We don't wait. You come in, you pay a down payment, we get started on your case, we do all the work immediately. And so if a client doesn't come, if they don't participate in a superior client experience, if they communicate that that's not what they want, then we move on.
Right.
But for everybody else, so long as they meet up their end of the deal, so they give us the payment information, their payments aren't declined, and they bring us all of their evidence, we get to work and we push it out 4 to 8 weeks. Some legal processes take a little longer, so those are the 8 weeks. But for most cases, we're like 4 weeks and we're done, right? We just want it done because you were talking about superior experiences, and I've made that jump too, right? To get a superior client experience, you need a superior employee experience. To get a superior employee experience, you need a superior lawyer experience, right? And so this idea of superior experiences, what does that look like, helps us say, well, if I want a better experience, we need to make the following adjustments. And you get everybody on the same page. We do communicate that to the clients. And I think it's backed up by the branding. They realize this is a company, not just a random smattering of lawyers who happen to work together and share office space. Yeah, no, it makes a huge difference. It's been fantastic.
Yeah. And that's good to hear. I mean, like you said, each of these kind of build off of each other. If your lawyers are superior and your employees are superior and you have superior clients, you as a team, those three aspects are going to, do phenomenal work. And like you said, 4 weeks and we're done with this case and we've got it done and there's a resolution. They can walk away happy and then refer you to somebody else because they've walked away happy. They've had that superior client experience because you've built a superior brand.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. Well, I do want to add a caveat here.
Okay,
for anybody who's listening about immigration stuff, their immigration stuff has delays for like years. So when I say we do the work within 4 weeks, like if you've got a residency application, our goal is to get it out the door and in the mail within 4 weeks. But we're not getting people green cards in 4 weeks.
Yeah, no.
We need to push the government to work on superior client experiences. But
they definitely need some help there.
USCIS needs a new motto, right? But as far as our side, anything that we do, I mean, when we have a new client management system too, we set a forecasted close date of your matter. We're like, okay, we're doing this. And this is the date we got to be done. And if we weekly review it, and if it's not done by that date, somebody's asking hard questions and somebody's got to give good answers. I mean, that's what we're doing.
But no fires, right? So,
no fires.
Yeah, no, let's talk to the U.S. government. If you want a superior citizen experience, call me and we'll help set up that strategy for you.
Superior citizen experience.
It's a superior citizen experience. What is that? SCE. So we'll just, that's what we'll work on. But yeah,
maybe Biden would like to hear from you.
That'd be great. I'd love to be employed.
Executive of the USA.
I'd love to be employed that way.
It's fun.
But so that's fantastic. I'm glad to see your business thriving so well, and I think it's going to, with the rebrand and your repositioning and just how you're going to differentiate. And I mean, I've watched you over the last 10 years as you've developed your brand and built it. And then I really appreciate the opportunity to help, finalize and put that capstone onto the brand and really make it shine. And I look forward to seeing, you push and grow this brand for what it is. Like you said, it's not just a law firm, it's a business. We're here to see to the needs of our clients, to see to the needs of our customers and make sure that they have that really good experience and that they, we solve their problems. I mean, that's what we all try to do with every kind of business aspect we do. That's what brand strategy is about, is just solving a problem for a business or a person or whatever that thing is. So.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Yeah. Again, the rebrand has been great for us, and it has given cohesiveness to the vision, right? So I had this vision when I wanted to make this most recent change, and over the last 18 months or so, we've been working towards a vision where things are more streamlined, where we don't have any fires. And what's interesting is when you think of, I want a new logo to go with this, maybe that's where you start. But if you think, well, what's my brand? What's my mission? So that's the questions I was on, was what's my mission moving forward? Like, if I'm going to do this kind of complete overhaul and culture change in the firm, what does that look like? And it's more than just a logo. It's a look and feel, it's colors, it's branding. I mean, that's
and
where
it's procedural too. I mean, it's not just that those overall, surface things. It's about getting those internal factors working and chugging along at the same time. Yeah,
there was a lot of background admin work that I was doing, but and we would discuss those things too. You shouldn't diminish the impact that your kind of consulting chops had on the process. Like when you looked at other law firms, then I'm all like, maybe I should look at other law firms, like that was helpful, right?
It's important.
No, but you looked at other things too. And you had, one of the things that I really liked was you weren't just looking for a cool design. You were looking for, and by looking for, I mean, obviously you designed it. It's an original design. You weren't just looking for a cool design. you were looking for a meaningful design. And so that was one of the other cool things that I liked about talking to you about it was, well, what does that mean? Or I remember I was like, what if we did this? That's always cool. And you're like, why? What does it have to do with your question was, what does that have to do with your brand? Like, what's the meaning behind that? Like, you weren't opposed to putting it in the design. I don't even remember what it was. And I think we rejected it ultimately. Yeah. But because you asked the question, like, well, why should that be part of your brand? Like, what does it have to do with anything?
Yeah.
And the answer was it wasn't. I just thought it looked cool, right? And that's not the best reason to do things when it comes to design, right? And so having a cohesive brand, having a cohesive culture centered around this idea of superior client experience is really neat.
Yeah, that definitely the singular focusing element that helped, grow and create the brand that you're using now. And I think, like you said, it'll flourish because of that, because we didn't go with, oh, this shiny thing is really cool looking, but asking those questions, why, how does it fit, what's the meaning behind it? And I think that really is kind of the crux behind a lot of strategic brand creative thinking is just, what is the meaning is, how does this help you? Does it solve problems? It doesn't need to just be shiny and look good. It needs to be functional and quality. There's a researcher that I worked with, and one day I was lamenting that I wasn't getting to do art, and he's like, well, your art has meaning. It does something. It's functional. It makes things better. It improves things, because I was seeing all these things that were really cool, but they didn't really serve a function. They just were neat to look at, but they didn't help push a brand or help solve a problem. And that's definitely something that you need to think about. Ask those questions. Why? How does this improve? Is it important? What does it do for us? Definitely appreciate you as definitely my brother, but also as a business person, reaching out to our company to facilitate your rebrand here. And really enjoyed the process. I mean, obviously we get along pretty well,
right? Yeah.
So, but I really enjoyed the process, and that you took what I said. We said earlier in the conversation, I asked why when you brought this shiny object, and how does it help you? Like you were saying with your clients, it's important for my clients as well, to take that expertise, the knowledge that I'm bringing, and going, okay, Warren's asked us why. Let's listen to that. Let's lean into that and go, okay, let's truly ask ourselves why, and does this help? Is it important? So I truly appreciate the chance to serve as your rebrand expert, and it's been a really fun process, and just seeing the development of your company and what you've said, building out these new things. And I look forward to seeing your success in the next several years to augment and what you've already done and what you've already accomplished. So it's phenomenal.
Thanks. Yeah. The thing that I would add for you is, it's been cool to have you come to the studio, and, you've watched me put this together. I have made many a phone call. Hey, what camera should I use? How should I do this? And so, it wouldn't be right to not have you get some video out of this. But one of the cool things that I have enjoyed this last year is watching you grow your business. And
it's been interesting.
Yeah. So Tingen Creative, we've learned a lot from this process. But one of the things that I don't wish that I could do it differently. But I started my own firm right out of law school. It's been an awesome adventure. But I started from an experience level of 0, right?
Right.
And one of the cool things about working with you is that you have an experience level of 20, right? Or how many years have you been doing?
20 plus years of doing marketing and branding creative. So, yeah.
For mid-sized to large companies, to large groups. Yeah. I mean, I think even one of them was a very large real estate group.
Yeah, global CBRE.
All right, so global brand.
So
right, global real estate brand. So you've had that level of experience. You've been in, I guess, to quote Hamilton, the room where it happened, right? So you know some things. And so for me, it was fascinating and fun to rely on your experience, because from the get-go, my thing for you was, oh, you're going to kill it. Like, Like once you get started, because we'd been talking about you
Right,
starting
right.
your own company
Yeah.
for a while.
Jacob's definitely been the impetus for me branching out. I've been doing freelance for several years and on my own, but Jacob's definitely been the influence in pushing me to make that next leap. So,
Yeah, and so my rebrand and your next leap were perfectly timed.
that's fair.
So I appreciate that. No, but also, I mean, you know, you're still in business, right? So, and you've
Yeah.
had a good year. So
I had a good year. We met revenue goals, and that was good. I, look forward to making new revenue goals this next year and see how it grows and develops, and we'll see what it does.
yeah, no, so I just applaud you for being entrepreneurial, and then also I think you're headed in the right direction too. Like, and if you can do for other businesses what you did for my business, then I think you're going to be in great shape.
Well, that is the hope, and if you do need help with branding your business or rebranding, as Jacob's done here, we're available to help with structuring your brand, not just in the visuals, but also in the elements within your business and your client experience. So, reach out to Tingen Creative. You can see us at tingencreative.com.